to the Skullcast, where we are oscillating between grief, cynicism, despair, hope, and any other emotion that you can add to the roller coaster of being a Vikings fan. We are two brothers, Christopher and Asher, and we enjoy talking about football, and you are listening to the end-of-year recap of the Vikings season. What a way to end, Christopher.
That is the way to end.
I told you.
You told me.
I was skeptical.
Yeah.
What?
It's one of those. Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, I mean, it really shouldn't have happened, but it did, and every Vikings fan had that feeling of like, yep, this is gonna happen.
Yeah. Before the Lions game, I legitimately thought, so just to clarify, the expectations were never to go to the Super Bowl, but how they were playing, they were, I still contend, they were heading into the final week of the season, they were the most complete team playing. I think Philly could make a good case, but their defense didn't necessarily look that great against the Commanders, and that's more of a playoff competitive team. But yeah, when they fell apart against the Lions, the Vikings, and that's when I was like, good grief, like we hadn't seen anything like that all year long, and all of a sudden now in the biggest moments, what gives us confidence they're going to do anything against the Rams? I guess a question I have for you is, when I looked at the Detroit game, I landed it squarely on Darnold. It was like, good night. I think there were memes going around about how the Lions hit factory reset on Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's just kind of what it looked like. So 3 weeks ago, or 4 weeks ago, almost, I can't remember when it was, when they played Seattle, I was watching that game, and I saw Seattle take the lead.
Yeah.
What was it, 24-20 or something? And we went out. It was the night we wanted to go pass out some Christmas goodies to our neighbors before the sun set completely. And so I was like, okay, yeah. There was like 5 minutes left in the game, somewhere around there, and I saw Seattle take the lead. And I was like, okay, yeah, that's fine. Let's go hand out goodies now. And I was pretty confident that Sam Darnold was going to lead them down and take the lead again. And by the time I got back on my phone and saw the score, they had taken the lead, and I hopped on just in time to watch them intercept Geno Smith and end the game. Like, that's the kind of confidence that, based on the play of the team and the play of Darnold, that's the kind of confidence I had running into the Lions game. And Lions had just led up not that long before, 40 points to the Bills, and then over 30 points to the 49ers. And it was just like, yeah, like if we show up and play offensively like we did in game one, I think we have this game. And then they did not show up. And all of a sudden it became this thing of like, you can't trust the offense to get a first down. Like, all season long, if you make a stop, that's the thing that I've noticed was different as opposed to the Kirk Cousins era. If the defense made a stop, you had confidence the offense would go down and do something with it, at the very least a field goal. And the Lions and the Rams game. Anyways, heading into the Rams game, or after watching the Rams game, I am just like, what happened to the team? Like, you can't land. I think Darnold is responsible for the majority of the Lions game, perhaps. In light of the Rams game, I wonder, okay, so maybe the coaching should have been better prepared even for the Lions game. But I just thought the Rams game was a whole team collapse, not just a Darnold collapse. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. Um,
I
it's
mean,
hard to
there's
tell. Go ahead.
just to interrupt you. There's lots that was bad with Darnold in the Rams game too. I'm not saying he wasn't
Sure.
to blame as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it seemed Darnold definitely had that kind of wide-eyed look. Um, wasn't it which no, it was the Lions game that the defense hung in there. They still had like a chance to come back. And even like, yeah, it's kind of that thing where it's just kind of unfathomable to remember the amount of confidence we had in the season because yeah, like there I had gotten to this point. I was still nervous in a lot of Vikings games, but I had gotten to the point where it's like, no, we'll come back. We'll be fine. Um, and so even going into the second half in the Rams game, I was like, man, if they can just collect their wits, they could make a comeback. Like I've seen the Vikings come make some pretty major comebacks. Um, but also it was like what 9-27 or whatever. Um, I think I think there was a degree to which maybe it's Febreze, maybe it's not Febreze, maybe it's
Hubris.
hubris. I don't know.
I was trying to
Maybe
think
it's.
what name
I
you're
was like
getting at.
that did not. I think I was seeing the word in my head and forgot how to pronounce it.
Uh,
That did not sound right. Hubris. Maybe it's hubris, pride, arrogance, stubbornness on the coach's part, or maybe it's just like, yeah, kind of like, man, all season long we've just kept trusting this thing and it's always worked out for us, and so we're gonna go down swinging with this. But um, I forget where I was going with that train of thought. I think, yeah, like the excuse me. Um, yeah, I think I was saying, oh, maybe it's hubris in the sense that like Kevin O'Connell thought he could fix Darnold, like keep fixing Darnold, and so he didn't adjust much. And then
eh,
got into the got or just wasn't prepared, and then got into the Rams game, and nothing was clicking. It seemed like towards the end of the game, yeah, there was like just also even just like a lack of mental fortitude. Like it felt like they had kind of just given up for sure by the time there was 5 minutes left in the game. But even that like last quarter, it just felt like there's no hurry up, there's no let's
yeah,
go win this thing, which is just not the team that I had come to recognize all season
yeah,
long. It's like, yeah, it just felt like everything that this team had proven to us as fans, and I think to the media and to themselves, just kind of collapsed. And it's really difficult from our perspective to see. Like, was there some sort of like tension? Was there falling out? Was there distraction? Was it the spotlights? Like these are two major spotlight games. Yeah, I don't know.
yeah. I've actually like Monday, Tuesday. I don't even know. Maybe even Wednesday. I did not think about it that much at all. It was just like this is bad. I think the one consolation was things were so bad. Like the O line was so bad against both of those, and so it's like you better address that. Like, I honestly don't even really care what they do. They could bring Aaron Jones back at running back. Like, we need a run game for sure, 100%. But more than anything else, we need an O line. We
Yeah.
like, so different things were so bad. Darnold, I think, has proven again, cannot be emphasized enough. Anybody watching this or listening to this, you were not hearing us tout like Darnold should be the franchise quarterback, whatever. Like he has been the X factor all season long. It just happened to be that he was really good, he, especially under O'Connell. With O'Connell, there's a reason he was drafted third overall. But what we see in these big games may be a reason why he's primarily a backup most of his career. Who knows? But so like there's a part of me that's like, well, anybody who's like, well, yeah, I knew this was going to come, or I knew this was happening. You clearly did not watch Vikings games this season, if
Yeah.
that's kind of your response, because we saw an evolution through the season that was like, this team is really good. And yet then there's all of us Vikings fans who have a history of like, we've seen good teams before.
Yeah.
And it just, what is it about the playoffs? They just go and lay eggs, like no matter. And then you have the Texans who have not really been that impressive all year long. And they 2 years in a row, they win, the wild card round. And obviously it'll be pretty hard to go in and play against Mahomes, but like just what makes the difference? Is that coaching? I think I was shocked at how distracted the Vikings looked, at how unprepared the Vikings seemed, the offense seemed for the blitz. Like you should have known after how the Lions game went, 100%. Any couch watcher of the Vikings could have told you the Rams were going to blitz all day. Like, why were you not prepared for that better? Why didn't you should have been practicing quick, short passes all week long like that. You knew it was coming. And yet it's like game plan wise, even Darnold mentally wise, almost like they weren't even expecting that again. Even Flores and the defense, like I wasn't that impressed with how the defense played against the Rams. Obviously, that fumble recovery, weird, bizarre. Again, I think it's just a horrible rule or call or whatever, how that happened. Like that would have tied the game. It took a bunch of air out of the room, but that's not why we lost. Like
Yeah.
it still
It,
wasn't.
I
Yeah.
will say, watching the game, and I remember thinking it in the moment and hoping that they come out of it, but it did feel like that was kind of the death nail. Whereas like
Yeah.
after that, the team just had no get up. Um, whereas up until then, it did feel like Darnold wasn't playing great. He wasn't playing terrible. I think had they,
His passes were a lot more accurate before then. Yeah.
yeah, was it 9-3 at that point?
It was 10-3.
10-3. Um, and then that fumble happened. Yeah, that fumble strip sack, and I was like, okay, that's the oomph that we need. And then it was called back, and it was like,
Oh,
oh my goodness.
that would have been
And
huge, like a huge moment. It had
yeah,
all of us were hollering and screaming. But I just sensed, even just watching the defense and stuff, like that would have been huge to tie that
yeah.
up. Yeah.
I think they would have done a dance probably. They would have like it would have had all of this quintessential kind of Vikings, especially like early season Vikings defense moment.
Yeah.
I think it would have given the offense confidence. I think, yeah. And then it just seemed like they just continually quit. And I don't know. And I think more than anything for me, it was like the mentality of the team. Like obviously, it's hard to have you know a good mentality when your quarterback is seeing ghosts. And so
Yeah.
maybe I can't blame the vibe of the offense on everybody. But it just seemed like they mentally broke down a little bit, like from the coaches to the receivers to the defense. Um,
How much how much do you think everything about Kevin O'Connell distracted? Did you hear Paul Allen talking about the team when
yeah,
that report came out?
yeah. Um, I've wondered that too. I don't know. even if it did, I mean, those things happen. Like
Yeah. I
there again, that feels like a mentality thing of like you're
yeah.
preaching. I mean, that was something O'Connell preached all season long. Was like the mentality thing of like no matter where we're at, we're gonna push through. And so even if there were like those things going on, even if he was frustrated or whatever, I'm just like, why can't the media? I mean, obviously not. It's a bajillion-dollar business, and so they're gonna do
Yeah.
whatever. But there is like a degree of like, why now? Like even if it was O'Connell's agent that um was putting things out into the media saying like, oh, O'Connell's camp is frustrated that he doesn't have an extension. But that's also another reason for ownership of like why are they not extended? Like why did you not get that done last season?
Yeah.
You know what do they have to prove? I mean, I honestly this is one thing I'm both concerned about and happy about is like if you think through the games last year that Cousins would have won if he would have not gotten injured, we probably would have 3 seasons with O'Connell where he at least wins 10 or 11 games.
Yeah.
But he was like last year's team was decimated with injuries, none more important than the franchise quarterback. And and so like I do think that okay, looking at this season, looking at last season, I do think that we probably can kind of expect that an O'Connell team is going to go 10 plus wins every season. So that's kind of exciting and hopeful. The thing that's disappointing is, I'm just not going to trust it till the playoffs. Like, I'm just not
Yeah.
going to.
I mean, this year shows, even if they have a top 5 defense, that doesn't mean they're going to go deep in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
But, but yeah, I think I'm just frustrated from all angles. Where it's like, why like this wouldn't have even been, even if it caused like a 2% amount of distraction, this would have been a problem if you just like figure it out. But then it's frustrating that like, okay, maybe it was like a mutual decision where Tracy and O'Connell both were like, no, let's figure it out next season. And so everybody decided, no, we'll figure it out next off season. And then someone leaked it out and it's just like, what are you doing? Like you clearly only care about the money if you're leaking this out to Jay Glazer and he's saying it on Fox Sports and it's just
Yeah.
like I just
I
want people to care about winning playoff games.
yeah, I mean there's people who know more than I do who who think it's ridiculous that we would suggest Glazer just making stuff up. I
Yeah.
was still just like, whatever. Like, this is. I felt anger when I saw it that Sunday morning.
Yeah.
My emotion inside was anger. It was like the Vikings can't even be playing for the number 1 seed without you trying to undermine what they're doing
Yeah.
by now just detracting the whole attention. And it's like, well, now other people want the coach. And it's like, just let the moment be. Like
Yeah.
this was so frustrating.
Well, it's also
And the idea that it's O'Connell's camp, like that's disappointing if it is. I guess maybe, I mean, people, what do I know? But
yeah. I mean, yeah. I don't know who else in camp would have leaked something like that.
beat
Um,
reporters, like, did you listen to Darren Wolfson on Score North
yeah,
at all? Like
yeah,
he's a little perturbed that people like Mike Florio and even Paul Allen
yeah,
or whatever are calling it like tension between O'Connell and the
yeah. He doesn't
head
like the word
coach.
tension.
Yeah.
He said maybe frustration or something like that. I mean, there's always going to be tension between the GM and the coach, probably. Like one report was saying, Florio was saying that he wants more control, which you know is whatever. I don't know. I'm
Your
just frustrated.
your arms and chin are pretty, but I can't see your face.
I I would. It's like no matter what angle you take this from, I'm just frustrated that anyone.
Yeah.
It's just frustrated at everybody. I'm frustrated at the people reporting it. Frustrated at the people leaking it. I'm frustrated if there's any ounce of truth to it. I'm frustrated that the ownership. But there's also this kind of annoying thing where in Minnesota sports, and I think it's kind of this way with a lot of small markets teams, where smaller market teams, where the assumption from big media is that I can't believe I just said big media. The assumption from like
Fake news.
national media is what I mean. Like people who are covering the sport nationally is
Yeah.
that, oh, we should, Minnesota has a great thing. Let's see like what big market team they would do well in. Like KOC, oh, these big market teams want to trade for KOC. Last year was Justin Jefferson. You
As
know,
though, yeah,
in the
as though,
Timberwolves, people are always like, oh, where does Ant want to go? Because Ant doesn't want to be at the Timberwolves. It's just like, let us have our superstars. Like,
yeah. And the moment, like, it's okay if the Vikings have a moment.
yeah, yeah. You don't have to think of, oh, how could we dismantle this?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it is frustrating. I hope that they can get the contract figured out. There's no cap hit if they sign him to $1 bajillion, and so it's like just give him whatever he wants. Um,
So are you, how much, how confident are you? You just said you think you'll always get a 10-win season with O'Connell. How confident are you with O'Connell and with Flores, or are you at all with like a lot of Vikings fans who now think the coaching should be overhauled? Everything.
oh my
I,
god,
s- I saw
You-
so many people just like overhaul everything. Just
I can't. I don't think those fans that have knee jerk reactions like that, I don't think deserve to have a TV. Um,
I sometimes wonder
they
if they're even real or if they're like bots on Twitter.
yeah, I don't know. I Because there's people in Philly too who like, this year maybe it makes more sense, but like the year after they lost the Super Bowl and then they kind of had somewhat of a dud of a season. I guess that was just last year. They like sputtered out the season last year. There were people around here who were saying that they should fire Sirianni. I was just like, why are you firing a coach who took you to a Super Bowl like within 2 years recently?
Mm.
Like you see these coaches, whether like any team that gets on like a coach carousel where they're just churning through coaches, those are all universally terrible teams. Like
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Jets, the Bears, the Cardinals, the Giants are trying to like not do that. I mean, you have the Steelers and the Cowboys who they're always mediocre and they're very hesitant to um to replace their coaches. Like they're very slow to fire and hire. But like what I know for sure is not a winning formula is just churning through coaches. And so when you have a coach who is in the running for he's leading the team to 10 plus wins in the first 3 seasons of his coaching tenure period, let alone with the team, but just like as a head coach, he leads the team to two, probably could have led them to 3 seasons of like winning records, maybe even winning the division.
He's averaging 11.33 wins this season.
Yeah. Um, he has one of the greatest winning percentages in history. Like obviously he's only coached for 3 years, so like that's gonna be skewed. But like and the players love him. I think people come to Minnesota to play under O'Connell. I think we have a massive cap space. We have one of the, for sure, top 10. I'm thinking like top 7 or 6 cap space coming into this free agency we need to re-sign a lot of free agents, but we just have a ton of room to bring people in. We have a young quarterback. We have quarterback whisperer as a head coach. Like, I just, people who think that he should be fired just are not paying attention. Of course, he's going to have bad games, and hopefully, like, give him a couple more years, see if does he learn from,
Yeah.
the mistakes of this. I think part of the thing, who was it that I was listening to? Who was talking about the Lions and the Rams? Like, they are two of the most like prepared, well coached teams in the league. Like, they prepare like crazy, and the Vikings had both of them back to back. So the Lions probably exposed things to a team that a team as well coached as the Rams is gonna pick up. I think the thing that is disappointing to me is that the Vikings didn't adjust. Like, they didn't. They also should have picked that up. But like, can O'Connell overcome that? Like, McVay didn't have a lot of. I mean, he had success, but he didn't like win a Super Bowl in the first 5 years of his coaching tenure, and everyone was like, "This guy's brilliant." He went on to win a Super Bowl eventually, but yeah, I guess I'm kind of just rambling. I just think that the idea that you would overhaul like an incredible coaching staff simply because of why? Why are you overhauling? Because he didn't do well in the wild card? Like, what
Yeah.
what more can you ask of your team? Like, why do you only watch football because you want your team to win a Super Bowl? And if they don't win a Super Bowl, then it's not satisfying to you. Like, what more are you asking of a team than to they won 14 games? That means most of the games that I watched were fun and positive.
Yeah.
And yeah, I hope that they can go further next time. But at the end of the day, it's like I don't want to watch. I don't want Zimmer. I don't want Zimmer back. I don't want who else could come in. Like, I don't want I don't want to take a stab when you have a winner. Why would I go take a stab at some other random person? Like,
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, it's exacerbated because the Vikings have not done much in the playoffs for years.
yeah,
But I'm honestly not that worried about Kevin O'Connell being 0-2 in the playoffs. Um, he is the kind of coach and the kind of culture builder who's going to win a Super Bowl. I'm positive, which is why I agree. I'm like, if you're the Wilfs, what are you doing? Not not signing um, an extension with O'Connell.
yeah,
I definitely think Darnold lost value in the last few games. I'm not so sure O'Connell lost value. Um, just because of that. I was actually like, one hopeful thing is it may be harder for Flores to get a job, even though like they're still like at the end of the year, they're still the only team who did not give up more than 31 points. um, they averaged what was it, like 19.8 or 20, maybe it
yeah.
was, maybe after this final game it was over 20, which is good for third or fourth best in the league. Led the league in takeaways, led was middle of the pack in preventing yards. Like, they weren't the worst by the end of the season. There are teams still in the playoffs who were worse than them. And so maybe Flores will still get a job, but on one hand, it's like I'd love to have Flores back for another year. I'd love I'd love to have Flores for a long time. I think O'Connell and Flores could do a lot, but like, I'm not concerned about them as coaches. Like, I'm just hoping I will be concerned if they run the table, like make mid off season deals and just kind of try to repeat what they did this year. Like this year is and was a building year, a building block year. Took from kind of an overhaul at the quarterback position and just a disappointing season with injuries of 2023. Okay, now we drafted this rookie QB. We're going to start preparing for something bigger when he's ready in his prime. Like, I don't even know if JJ McCarthy starts next year. I don't necessarily expect them to do a ton. I do think they could go to the playoffs. They should go to the playoffs and go win a playoff game. Like, I expect that. I want that, but I'm not sure that I'm thinking Super Bowl is now. Come 2026, I mean 2026, 2027, 2028. Like, yeah, where are the Super Bowl appearances? Kind of maybe what the Lions are now. Like, maybe Lions fans don't quite view it this way, but I expect the Lions to be in the Super Bowl, or else they may as well kind of have some of the similar conversations. It's just like, well, we've done this 2 years in a row now. Like, have really good seasons, and yet we can't finish through in the playoffs. But I was royally disappointed. Like, I just hope. I like to hear at O'Connell's press conference that the interior of the O-line absolutely needs to be reinforced and looked at. I like to hear that. I like to hear that there's things he looks at as being better, like he can always be better for the team. But man, somehow coaching has to take, because they were not prepared for the Rams. And I think that's a piece that probably the biggest concern that I would have about the coaches is like, okay, so are you going to learn from that and do even better at preparation going forward?
Yeah.
What are you looking forward to if we talk about this being a building year, our expectations had adjusted from this is a building year to like they could win the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And yes, of course, we feel like idiots for thinking that, but
I do.
I think, yeah, I don't either. There was definitely some moments where I was like, man, what did I miss? But I also think like every fan base of a team that does go deep, at some point in the season, they see like this team could go deep. And then there's like 5 fan bases that are just royally disappointed and think they're, what were we seeing? Or other people are looking at it as like, ha, they're frauds. And there's only one fan base that's ever going to be like, yeah, we saw this coming. And so I think you could say that about the Vikings. You can say that for sure about the Chiefs and the Lions and the Eagles and the Bills. You could say that about the Ravens, like the way the defense has played the end of the season here. I'd throw another team in. Well, I think the Rams, they've done it in the recent past, and so there's always kind of that like, yeah, they could. But the Commanders fans could be like, hey, we might be able to do something here. Obviously, they have to play the biggest challenge of all right away. But what are things that you look forward to as we look at a Vikings off season of making adjustments? And
I am excited. Sounds like McCarthy is back on the field. Sounds so I'm excited to see his progress. I'm sure, I forget when things kick back up again. I think it's, probably well after the Super Bowl. So probably like March, people start coming back. But by all accounts, it sounds like, McCarthy's a 21-year-old single kid who's, has
is he only 21?
he's very young. Yeah. Sam Darnold's only 27. That was part of the argument for him. It's like Sam Darnold's already 5 years older than him. So McCarthy has a long ways ahead of him. I'm excited to just hear about his development. It sounds like he's probably It sounds like he's a hard worker by all accounts. He's the guy that's just like he's in the building. Looked like he lost a lot of weight. Um,
Yeah.
and so you know, I'm guessing that was because of the knee. They probably wanted him to shed some weight so that his knee can heal. So I'm excited to see, just what he looks like when, um, when they start bringing people back in the building. I'm obviously intrigued about the draft. I think I'm more excited about free agency because we don't have a lot of draft picks and
Mhm.
we have a ton of cap space. Um, and we have a ton of free agents that will probably be leaving the building. I hope and expect that they'll bring Cam Bynum back. Um, I'm excited that we have like Van Ginkel, Bernard, Cashman. I think they're all locked into like a couple of years. Um, would love to see Smith come back for one more year, just as like that veteran presence. Um,
Mhm.
and he's still playing at a high level. Um, so yeah, I think mostly what I'm excited about is like I would just love for them to dump money into the trenches, like the interior O line. 'Cause we have Christian Darrisaw, Brian O'Neill, two of the best. I think they're tackles, right?
Yeah.
Um, it shows how much I actually know about X's and O's. Um, but
Or
they-
are they or are they guards?
no,
Which is the outside?
guards are inside.
Oh,
I
okay.
think tackles
Okay.
are outside.
Yeah.
So Brian O'Neill, and Christian Darrisaw, or I mean, Darrisaw for sure is considered, top five tackle. Brian O'Neill's up there. Um, our guards are pretty horrendous. Our center is not great. We had a rookie center this year as well, so it'd be interesting to see.
Bradbury's a rookie?
No, 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 no. We had Bradbury, but we also drafted a center, or
Oh,
we have a
okay.
young center, Jurgen, I think.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
and so it'd be interesting to see, is he developed? Do they bring in? I think we need a better center. I like Bradbury. I don't think he's that great. So like that whole
Mm.
the two guards in the center, basically any improvement in there, I think would be pretty exciting, especially for a rookie.
Yeah.
Or I mean, yeah, especially for a first year starter with McCarthy. Um, I was watching some McCarthy highlights last night and was getting excited for him. I think he has. I like Sam Darnold, and I'm super bummed for him. But yeah, I just think I think McCarthy has all those things that we're looking for. Um, and then on the defense as well, I think the line could be improved. Um, I don't know as much about that as I do the offense.
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be interesting, and I don't like this is Flores's scheme a little bit, so it'd be interesting to try to get a little bigger defense.
Yeah,
Um,
I also thought about that. Yeah, especially for the playoffs. Like
yeah,
thinking about
yeah,
the playoffs. That's like the thing that I thought about all season long was like I think it was easy to forget that the Vikings were a top defense because I just wasn't really scared of them. Like I wasn't the the defense doesn't strike me as intimidating, which, it's a fun loving defense. It's got guys like Cam Bynum and Metellus. They're not particularly scary guys, which is fine. I
yeah.
like them. I want them on my team. Um, yeah. But yeah, they didn't, you know,
You
I don't know
compare
if
that,
I, go ahead.
yeah, no, like the Phillies, the Eagles are a good example of like they've got big guys both on their O line and their D line, and they dominate through the strength of big guys. But even I was noticing like our top draft edge rusher Dallas Turner, which I'm excited. It sounds like his development's coming well. I'm excited. I know there's like skepticism, like he didn't play that much and whatever, but
But he was playing under
I'm
Van
not that worried. Yeah, yeah, I
Grenard, who
know.
were having incredible seasons.
They were doing incredibly well, and I again, like, I think all the way around, I'd rather my young guys develop so that they're
Yeah,
good. But you compare that to the Rams, who had Jared Verse,
right.
who's had an incredible season. He definitely hit the floor running, but he's also a bigger guy. He's a bigger edge rusher. I don't know if Turner will put on can do much or not, but I, I think Turner's going to be great. I'm not that
Yeah.
concerned about it yet, but yeah,
Darisaw in training camp, Darisaw praised him up. There was one clip I saw where someone was interviewing him, and I think they had asked him like what popped out or something, and he just started talking about Turner and how quick Turner is, and like I guess he has like a spin move or something. Um,
yeah.
so like you
I
know,
think he has Micah Parsons comps, kind of as
yeah,
far as yeah,
and I don't like Micah Parsons developed quickly. I don't remember how Aaron Donald developed, but there is a degree to which I think those positions tend to develop slower. Like you don't necessarily. It's not as often that you hear, oh, like this incredible rookie, um, because they're allowed to develop. Whereas like quarterback and receiver, people tend to throw them in right away, and they tend to pop off more. People like the offense and whatever. But like, I'm not too worried about Dallas Turner just because I think that by nature that position tends to blossom later.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm looking forward to seeing what they do in free agency.
Yeah.
In the what do you say to people who are like, well, I don't know how it. So many people who I talk with who have followed college football have skepticism around JJ McCarthy,
Yeah,
and
that's because they don't know pro football.
yeah,
It's not college.
no, I agree. Like I genuinely like. It's interesting to see Daniels do what he did because my limited scouting expertise, watching, like, I kind of saw of the top five options. I saw Daniels, like, man, I really wish the Vikings would
Oh,
go up
yeah,
and
for
trade
sure.
for
Yeah,
Daniels. But actually, like, once I saw McCarthy playing and stuff, I was like, he actually has the build more. Couple things. He's very athletic and a very good arm. Um,
yeah,
the fact that he didn't throw much at Michigan doesn't say much about his arm. That says more about Jim
right.
Harbaugh, and his coaching scheme. Because you watch Justin Herbert, who's frequently been top five in yards and passing stats. Well, he's taken a statistically he's taken quite a bit of a step back because he
That
has
last game
Jim
was rough.
Harbaugh as his yeah. Um, but the thing that stood out to me is, like, when you look at some of the great all-time great QBs, that's the downside to Daniels is he's kind of small. And the thing that I think about with McCarthy is he's got that kind of Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes
Mhm.
kind of build of, you know, Lamar Jackson's kind of smaller too. So maybe Daniels is going to have a bit of a trajectory, or Jared Goff. Like, Jared Goff's not that big of a QB, but
Yeah.
um the other
Mm.
thing about McCarthy is he has won at every level. He's won
Yeah.
state championship at high school. He won championship in college. And so I just, like, I don't know. It's hard to gauge when you're playing at a pro
Yeah.
level. You've probably been a part of a championship team somewhere in your growing up years, but
Right.
I like the fact that he's coming in with I've been in big moments before, and that he has to have, to some degree, a bit of a mental rhythm for
Yeah.
in the moment big games.
Yeah. That Yeah, I think he has. That's where it's like, I know we're a little bit skeptical of O'Connell's coaching because of the last two games, but with a coach like O'Connell, like a lot of those things are coaching. Like the things that he missed out at Michigan for being kind of a run first offense. That's just a matter of like getting reps and coaching. But does he have the strength? Does he have the arm strength? Does he have the build? Does he have the athleticism? He has all of those things.
Hmm.
Um, and he can throw like some bombs down the field. We saw that in the preseason. Obviously, it's preseason, but like um, all of those other things, even things like accuracy and um, like reading the field and understanding plays and knowing the offense and stuff. Those are all things that can be worked on and improved. Um,
Yeah.
and one great thing about this year is that he's been meeting with O'Connell every week. He was running through the plays with like the VR headset so that he could see the field from Sam Donald's perspective. Um,
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that was like a camera that I'm not sure if that was like a camera that they put on his helmet, on Darnold's helmet, or if that was just like what Darnold was seeing in practice since McCarthy couldn't practice. But in either case, he couldn't physically be on the field, but he's getting all of the mental reps that he
Yeah.
should have been getting and like learning and being on the sidelines at games, getting the feel of the game and stuff.
Yeah.
Um, and so I I feel I feel super positive about McCarthy, and yeah, as long as he like can get back into shape, is the biggest thing that I think would hinder us from you know winning a lot of games next year. And I would be a little bit concerned, especially if Darsaw can't get back before the beginning of the season, um, with the state of his body. Like I would really like to see him like really get in shape and be physically prepared to
Yeah.
start the season. Just because Darsaw is not going to be there, and so if the line is still not 100% and his body's not 100%, then I would be worried about another injury. But
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm excited. Like Quincy had one poor draft in 2022. It was his rookie draft. Um, and but he's like his free agents have been almost across the board. Like every GM's gonna have wish that free agents gonna have like whatever. But like especially this past season, I think is one of the greatest free agent classes we've had in recently. Um,
Yeah.
and so I trust their process with O'Connell and Flores, if Flores is sticking around, to to bring in some good, even if we don't do much in the draft, to bring in some good free agents, and I think that's exciting. Everybody that he's brought in has played significant reps. I've enjoyed. Like I've liked. I think for me as a fan, like I enjoy winning, and I enjoy it when I like my team. Like
Yeah.
that's one of the big reasons. I would if they would. People joke about Aaron Rodgers coming to the Vikings because it's funny because Brett Favre did that from the Jets and whatever. Um, I would not enjoy rooting for Aaron Rodgers. I would not enjoy rooting for I don't know who else. Um,
Yeah.
even like if Kirk Cousins came back, because people were joking about that too, because Atlanta would probably be paying his salary, so he could come back on like a Russell Wilson type deal. It's like I wouldn't enjoy that. That would feel like a step back for me.
Yes.
Um,
What if
and
he
so
came
as
back
long
as the backup?
If he came back as a backup, I wouldn't really care, I guess. Um, I think Daniel Jones would be a fine backup.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, honestly, Daniel Jones would be a great backup because he has won a playoff game, and I know that that was kind of a strange year, and it was to a collapsing Vikings team. But
Yeah.
um, like knowing that you have like a good backup would make me less like right now. It's kind of like if Darnold got injured, who would we have? Nick Mullins, and you're not gonna go anywhere with Nick Mullins. But yeah, what I was saying is like, yeah, I'm excited about free agency. I think they're gonna do a lot. I think it's gonna be fun rearranging of the furniture. I think I'll be sad if Bynum leaves. I'll be sad if Harrison Smith retires. I'll be happy if Harrison Smith would go. I would still be sad, but I'd be happy if he'd go like sign with the Chiefs or something like that, where it's like, oh, maybe he's gonna go get a ring.
Go get it. Yeah.
But I doubt he'll do that. He'll probably either resign with the Vikings or retire. Um, and other than like those two people leaving, be a little bit sad if Aaron Jones left. I really enjoyed watching him, but I also can see
Yes.
why we wouldn't resign him. As long as we sign or draft a good running back, I
Yeah.
just want to have fun watching my team. And I to kind of tie back to the beginning, I think that that was like the disappointment of these last two games. It's like I think I could have swallowed like a hard fought loss,
Yeah.
but it was just not fun. Like those games were just not fun. It just felt hopeless, and it just felt like, oh,
They were ugly. They
here
were, yeah.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
have to. It's ugly. I'm gonna have to endure more Vikings jokes. I'm gonna have to like wonder all next season. We might go 16-1 next season, and I'll
Nobody's
be
gonna,
like, are they gonna win the wild card game? Are they gonna win the divisional round? Like,
yeah. Yeah. No, that summarizes it all well. Do you at all wish they would have put somebody else in instead of Darnold in the second half?
no.
Yeah.
I mean, no, no. Because I don't enjoy watching
I don't.
interceptions either.
No, to me, it's like what people who say that, what, like if Darnold is playing that bad, do you actually think we have a chance at winning a game? And
Yeah,
so it's like we're riding and dying. Like he is the X factor. And yeah,
yeah.
I'm grateful.
It's like
To me, it would have looked like desperation on O'Connell, and I would be even more concerned about his coaching if he's like
if
throwing a guy in just to try to, yeah,
so Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones wasn't even suited up. He was the emergency QB, so he was
yeah,
at the game. Um, but I think it's the type of thing where I don't know how that works. He was listed as inactive, so I don't know what that means exactly. But I'm
no,
pretty sure he wasn't suited up.
if Nick had gone in and gotten injured, then he could go in.
Okay. Um, so it just wasn't happening. Um, and and oh,
Sorry,
but even what was that?
I, I think Darnold would have had to have been injured too. So like if they
Yeah,
just
I think they
put Nick
both
in,
have to be. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
So it's like even if they would have put Nick in and he got injured, then Darnold would have still had to go in and get injured. Yeah.
yeah,
Um, but even if they would have like made him the backup, he still only had half the season with the team, and so it's like no. If maybe if it's a situation where you had a Darnold all season long and you had a Jones all season long, and Darnold's struggling, then maybe you consider it. But that's usually not the situation. You don't usually have two starting quarterbacks on the roster.
yeah.
And and so to me, it feels a little bit like when people are like, "Put the backup in," unless it's a rookie or unless you're playing a rookie and you have a veteran as a backup. Like it's almost like people think that the way to get athletes' minds in the game is to give them a swift kick in the pants. And I think that is just an archaic and unhelpful way to view athletes. I don't think athletes think like that anymore.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think that you would have probably only broken Darnold more. And I don't think that Nick Mullins inspires any of that team. Like, I think people like Nick Mullins. I think they were with him when he came in, the different times. And like, I think his completion percentage this year was 100%. But
He threw 2 passes all year.
yeah, and they were both first downs, I think.
Yeah.
Um, so he's great. That's the perfect backup. That's what you need him for. I don't think
Yeah.
he's inspiring anyone as like, oh, would you have 2 healthy quarterbacks? Would you rather go catch passes from Mullins or Darnold? I think they're going to say Darnold every time.
Yeah. Darnold deserved, he had played well enough, he deserved to have the shot. And he showed us that if he is on, he could win a big game. He could come back. He did all of that. And if Darnold is not playing well to the point where it's like we need something else, then I don't think you actually have a shot at winning a playoff game. And so, yeah, to me,
I think
I had no problem sticking with Darnold.
I think some fans have just never had to lead a team, like a team of people, where it's like, oh, you're not just dealing with these people on paper. It's not like Madden where it's like the players aren't sentient, and so they're not gonna care. You pop them in and out, and it's only you moving them. So you don't you don't just mess with the team dynamic and it works out perfectly every single time. Like
Yeah.
there's so much that a coach is dealing with of like, okay, what is breaking down and what is going to happen if I make this move? Is this going to help or hinder the team? Is this going to like motivate Justin Jefferson? Is this gonna like fire up the line to like stand their ground? All
Yeah.
those things are going into it. And if you can't just plug and play, no matter what the talent level is, you just don't plug and play um, without thinking of all of those dynamics.
Yeah.
Maybe a coach thinks through all of like the Steelers. Coach thinks through those dynamics, and they're like, Russell Wilson's ready to go. We're gonna plug him in, and they did very well for the
Yeah.
most part until the end.
Oh, the other thing is going back to the Steelers. It was very clear if you tracked Tomlin the whole time, it was very clear Russell Wilson had pole position. The media kept trying to make it a controversy because Fields is playing good or whatever, and they kept trying to get more definitives like, oh, Fields is not going to be a starter. Oh, well, Russell Wilson's injured now. Oh, could Fields start the whole season? Oh, he should be starting. No, like the reality is Tomlin's communication to the team and to us as a public was pretty consistent, all the same. And I think that's what great coaches do.
Yeah. But he's also not going to go out while Fields is playing and be like, no, he's never going to start. Like he's
Oh,
not
yeah.
going to,
Oh,
his
100%.
currently starting quarterback, he's not going to tear him down. Like,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
or like say like, oh, we're definitely moving on him once Russell Wilson comes back. Even if that is true, that's not going to be a helpful thing to hear. Like you hear your boss saying, yeah, as soon as we can, we're going to replace him. Like that's just not helpful to hear.
Yeah. So you give we'll assess that when he's right now for us is injured. It's not even a question. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's the thing that is just like here we are doing a podcast. We're media essentially, but we're not trying to create stories. And media is so desperate to like create a story from each of everything that's going on in each of the teams and everything. And it's just like, man, come on.
Yeah, and they don't have the context of like following that team and how they talk and the patterns and what the
Yeah.
beat writers are saying and everything.
Yeah. Well, I think that brings the 2024 NFL season to a close for us. We obviously we're excited to see what happens with the rest of the playoffs. There's a number of history making things on the line, whether that's the Chiefs three-peat, whether that's the Lions, the Bills, the Texans could all win their first Super Bowl. The Ravens, obviously, Lamar Jackson's one of those, kind of QBs he's won 2 MVPs, very much in the running for this year's MVP, and yet what is he able to do in the playoffs? The big question mark around there. Who am I missing? Oh, Eagles. Trying to think, is there any sort of history being made with the Eagles? Maybe that's just proving everybody that they can come back and do it again. But
I think
it'll be an interesting.
My motivation for the Eagles would be just to prove to Philadelphians that they have a good team.
That's funny. In Philly, they don't see their team as very good.
It's pretty split. Like there's people around town definitely who I think believe in the team. And I think because of last season, the way they kind of spluttered at the end, I think a lot of people have their doubts. But I think, one narrative for the Eagles that would be exciting is just Saquon. Like, I think the story of Saquon is really great. And to see him in the Super Bowl after, leaving the Giants would be an interesting narrative just for the running back, the whole running back situation. Be an interesting narrative for the Giants to the Eagles, someone hopping ship to a rival. Saquon would be immortalized as an Eagle, even though he has spent up till now more time with the Giants. Like, there'd be some interesting, just kind of regional history there. I think kind of an interesting matchup would be the Eagles facing the Chiefs again. I think that could also just be mind-numbingly boring because we just had them 2 years ago. But I just think seeing those two teams face each other again and seeing the Eagles win would be just an interesting dynamic. But as far as my entertainment value, I'd want either one of those teams to face somebody else.
I think just for flipping the script, what if it's the Commanders and the Rams in the NFC championship? That would be just nobody's expecting that. And yet there are pieces about whether it's the fires in LA and kind of the galvanization that's happening with the Rams, or Jaden Daniels just looks really cool and calm. And Dan Quinn has obviously been taking a team to the Super Bowl before. I think, I forget who it was. Maybe it's Colin Cowherd or somebody. The winners of the wild card round, or essentially those who end up in the divisional round, anybody could go to the Super Bowl from there.
It'll be interesting to see how the Lions come out. I think pretty much any one of those matchups. I think the Lions Eagles would be the most interesting to as far as that would be a fun game to watch. I think it would be Lions Eagles. Lions Rams would also Stafford keeping his former team from going to the Super Bowl. That would be a pretty intriguing storyline.
Well, they faced each other last year. Yeah, it'd be interesting.
In the divisional round, I think, or the wild card.
The divisional round, I believe.
That's what I was thinking.
And so far, I don't know that Stafford has beat Goff. Has they? Has they? Since the trade, has
Maybe
Stafford beat Detroit
and
Goff?
They played this year. Did Detroit beat the Rams this year? I think.
Yeah.
They lost to Tampa and to who did they lose to right at the end?
The Bills.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, we will probably maybe after the Super Bowl, sometime after the Super Bowl, we'll have maybe a recap of the Super Bowl, another episode. And
do you want to make Super Bowl predictions?
Should we?
Sure.
I haven't really thought. Yeah, let's do that. Goodness, I haven't
Off the
spent
top of my
much.
head, for no legitimate reason other than vibes.
Yeah, go for you. Start. I'm gonna think about this a little bit.
So I don't necessarily, not having seen them play in the divisional round, I don't necessarily have a reason to doubt the Chiefs, but I think it's gonna be either the Bills or the Ravens. One of whoever wins that game, I think is gonna. Who are the Chiefs? Oh, the Texans. Yeah, the Texans are not. I'm gonna say the Bills. The Bills in the AFC. And oh man, my best guess is that it's gonna be either the Lions or the Eagles. Um,
Yeah,
the I think just for storytelling reasons, history, and all that, I'm gonna predict Bills Lions.
Bills Lions. That would be. I would like that. Like that would be a fun Super Bowl.
Yeah.
My prediction. I think Chiefs go to the Super Bowl.
Probably.
I'm trying to sort through my heart and what I actually think. So here's the dilemma. I didn't think the Lions had a good defense left.
Yeah.
I thought their defense, even if they weren't as injured as they are, I thought they were kind of mid statistically. They are kind of mid. They were mid even back when Aiden Hutchinson was there, even though he was leading the league in sacks and pressures. And so I don't, and what you've seen against good offensive teams, they're not blowing people out like they are against really bad teams. So the strength of the Lions is their offense, not their defense. Neither do I think the Eagles. Like, I'm curious to see what the Eagles do against a good defense, against a really good. So there's part of me that's like, boy, I don't know who would win in it. Like, I think the favored, if I was making picks, I would pick the Lions and the Eagles to end up in the NFC Championship. But who of those two win? That'll be a really interesting matchup. I'm not sure who to pick. Maybe I'll go Lions.
Right.
Lions, Chiefs in the Super Bowl. I would like the Rams and the Commanders to shut both those down. And then it could just be like, okay, so the Lions didn't win any playoff games either, and all this, but I don't think that's happening.
Who won? Oh, did the 49ers win the 1 seed last year?
Yeah, yes. Boy, let me
It
look
wasn't
that
the
up.
Lions, was it?
No, it wasn't the Lions. This is the first time they had.
I don't know who else it was then.
So in the NFC, San Francisco had the 1 seed.
Yeah. It San Fran, Lions, Tampa.
No, it was San Fran, Dallas, and then Detroit, and then Tampa, and then Philly,
Dallas.
and the Rams and Green Bay. Green Bay beat Dallas. Tampa beat Philly. Detroit beat the Rams. Yeah, so Detroit and Rams played in the wild card round.
That would be a really intriguing matchup. So, Rams versus Detroit.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's all
All
we
right.
have for now. We will see you guys later.
We'll see you.